My name is Ache, and I just want to start by saying thank you so much for tuning in. It really means a lot to me. I hope you enjoy this episode, and who knows, maybe you can relate. First and foremost, happy Black History Month. I know that's right. I just know this is going to be such a fun month. And you know what? If January didn't start off great for you, I'm hoping that February treats you so much better. Okay, so anyone who knows me knows that I'm a lavagial, okay? So, in light of Valentine's Day coming up, aka my favorite holiday of the year, I wanted to talk a little bit about my experience with situationships. I know you're probably wondering why situationships and not relationships, sis. Well, to be honest, unfortunately, I just have more experience with situationships. So that's your answer for that. But you know what? All jokes aside, it's not unfortunate because these experiences taught me a lot. And now I feel more confident in my decisions, in terms of a relationship in the future. So I'm grateful. But like most life lessons, the experiences were very painful. So yeah. I've only ever been in two major situationships, so let's talk about it. The first one started all the way back in high school. Grade 12, he was my first love. Little 17-year-old me was whipped over him, okay? Like head over heels. You can ask any of my girls. They could tell you. They could tell you. But our relationship was very complicated, to say the least. After we graduated, we didn't talk for a couple of years, and then, okay, before I say what I'm about to say, I need to make sure this is a safe space, okay? That there's no judgment here, all right? I'm 25 now. I've changed, okay? Okay, so pretty much I spun the block and we became a part of each other's lives again. So, but don't get it twisted, okay? My intentions for spinning the block wasn't to make him my man or nothing. Nothing like that. Okay? It was to get closure because I felt like it was the only way that I could move on in my dating life at the time. And I know that doesn't make any sense, but it did to me at the time, okay? So let's talk about closure for a second. The old me loved getting closure because for me, it was a time where I could ask all the questions I wanted to. I didn't have to make up scenarios in my head of why he did what he did or why did he say that on this day. I just need to ask and I get my answer. And I know this sounds bad, but, and again, this is the old me, okay? The old me. But I would also use this time of getting closure to guilt trip the other person because I loved hearing the words, I'm sorry, especially when I thought I deserved to hear it. I just loved having my feelings acknowledged. I later learned that there was obviously daddy issues attached to that, but that's a conversation for another time. So boom, we begin an on and off friends to situationship to friendship type of cycle, all up until August of last year. I had mentioned in my first episode that I lost somebody that I thought was going to be in my life forever, and that was this person. This person and I have gone through so many different seasons and trying times throughout the years, not only together, but also as individuals in our own lives. And he has seen me at my best and my worst. And one of the reasons why I felt so connected to him was because he would see me through all my different seasons and he would never treat me any different. He was truly my rock and safe place during a lot of my hard times and my good times. And as you know, last year was a tough year and it was just one of those seasons that we didn't get through, unfortunately. And I say unfortunately because one, the timing was terrible. Like, I really needed him to be there for me at the time. And, I just needed my rock and my safe place. And two, he was my first love and one of my best friends. There's just so much love and history there that I now have to heal and deal with. It's been a little bit over 5 months since everything ended, and during that time, I've done an extensive amount of self reflection on my situationship with him. And I'm able to say that I'm pretty sure our breakup needed to happen for us. Well, I don't know what he thinks, but at least for me, it needed to happen so that I can grow and be better by myself without any help from him. There were many realizations I had from the breakup, but there were two that stood out the most to me. First one is that 85% of my self-confidence depended on him. What does that mean? It means that his validation was something I needed to feel beautiful or pretty or sexy or anything of the sorts. Because let me tell you something. I've talked to a few guys in my 25 years of life, okay? But this guy right here, he was the only guy who has ever made me feel like $1,000,000. He was the best hype man ever. My gosh, like, he would like all my pictures. He would send my pictures back to me with hard eyes, telling me, oh my God, you look so good. I love this picture. Da 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 da, just flat out gassing my head all the way up. All the way up. I would think to myself, like, damn, okay, so he knows the real me and he makes me feel like I'm the most beautiful person he's ever laid his eyes on in his whole entire life. Yeah, that's my love right there. I'm gonna marry that man. That was my thought process. So you could only imagine how devastated I was while going through the most insecure time of my life without him around, to reassure me that I was that girl. And yes, my girls tell me I'm beautiful. My mom tells me I'm beautiful. My sisters tell me I'm beautiful. But there's something different about a man that you love seeing you in any and every light and reassuring you that you're beautiful inside and out. It's just different energies. But luckily, eventually, with time, I was able to give myself the same love I was giving him. And I started to see myself through his eyes. And he was right. And now I'm able to reassure myself and believe it without any outside validation. But between you and me, it still feels nice to receive a little male validation once in a while, okay? But like not all the time, just like once in a while, okay? Not to the point where I need it, is the point I'm getting to here. My second realization was that when everything happened between me and him, when everything ended, I truly believed that that was it for me. I thought I'd never find anyone who would love me like that ever again. I genuinely thought that that was the last time I'd feel a love like that. Because the love we had, I don't know, man, there's just so much history, like he knew me in high school. We knew each other in high school. We've seen each other grow so much. And I just thought that having that history between us made the relationship more special, if that makes sense. Because I don't know about you, but when I was about 19 or 20, I thought that it would be impossible to make new friends or even good quality friends. Because it's just so much harder to keep up with friendships when you get older. Either you're always busy, or you don't want to seem beg for friends, or you don't want to come off as weird, so you don't put in as much effort into making someone your friend. And I also had it in my head that if a person didn't know me from high school, they'd never really know me. And although I still think that to be true to a certain extent, I don't think it's as important as I made it seem. My girls who have known me since high school are special to me because of the youthful memories that we have, and we got to see each other grow. But that doesn't mean that the friendships I made with the girls I met at work or the girls I met at events are any less special. They're just different, but still very special to me in their own different type of way. My point is that even though it's hard to make real good friends the older you get, it's not impossible. And this is the type of mindset I had for my situationship. I thought, okay, like we have all this history, you're always going to have a one up on everybody else that I meet. When in reality, that's not true. But to add to that, I was very scared that I missed my one shot of one day getting married because I no longer had this person in my life. Because I always thought to myself, if it doesn't work with someone else, I'm sure it will work with him. And that was just very selfish of me. And I acknowledge that. And I've worked through that. It's so crazy. Like, I'm like thinking about it right now. And it's like, why would you think that? But I don't know. In my head, I was like, okay, well, if I'm still single at 40, it's going to be me and him. And we've never even dated. We've never dated. It's been a consistent, well, not consistent, like I said, on and off situationship for years. But I thought, well, no one else knows me like he does. And because I was so insecure, I also thought that anyone I'd meet in the future, once I'd let them see the real me, they wouldn't want to be with me. Which is kind of what happened with my other situationship, but I'm going to save that for part 2, okay? This situation kind of reminds me of this TikTok I saw recently that was basically a snippet of an interview that, what's his name? Wiz Khalifa was doing. And I guess they asked about his relationship with Amber Rose. And he was basically like, Amber's my best friend. Even though we're not together, I still check up on her. She still checks up on me. We talk on the phone. We laugh. Like, that's my best friend. And then he goes on to say, for future relationships, like if I'm in a relationship with someone, that's just something they're going to have to understand. That's something that they're going to have to accept. And it's hard, but, it is what it is, essentially. And when I heard that, I was like, oh my gosh, that's exactly how I imagined my future. I was like, you know what? If it doesn't work out with this person and, I move on, we're just so connected that he will always stay in my life and we're always going to be cool. And if my future partner doesn't like it, they're just going to have to accept it. And hearing someone else talk like that, I'm just like, that's very interesting. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. I didn't really take the time to marinate in that, but I think a part of me thinks it's a little selfish to think like that, but I didn't really dive deep into that. So it just reminded me of the situation I was in. And I was like, wow, that could have been me for real. Like that, this is the way I was talking and we were never together. Imagine. But anyway, thank God now I know that that's not true. I'm capable of being loved and romanced and protected and taken care of by someone who didn't know me when I was a teenager. So yeah, those are the 2 things that took me a while to get through, amongst other things. But in terms of healing, I'm doing a lot better now. Like, much better now. I don't cry anymore. Sometimes I think that the reason I don't cry about it anymore is because I'm too busy and not because I'm actually doing better. And I know I'm just gaslighting myself because maybe I feel guilty for feeling better. I don't know. Light bulb moment. So I just discussed this sentence with my best friend Dami because I wanted to kind of get her insight on that. I was telling her, I was like, you know what? I kind of feel weird that this is the fastest I've ever gotten over a situation with somebody. And she's like, well, yeah, because you felt everything all at once. And I was like, okay. And then she further explained that usually I would kind of space out my healing with other people and I'd go through like phases. I'd be like, it'd kind of like start off with, well, kind of like delusion at first, like it didn't happen. And then I'd get into a little bit of sadness. And then I'd go into, you know, then I'd kind of go into the whole woe is me. And then I'd kind of phase into, the I miss them part. And then I'd phase into the I don't need no man. I got this. And then I'd cry some more. And the healing was just never to the point, if that makes sense. But this time around, it was so different for me. And this probably also has to do with the fact that I was grieving already. And when everything happened, I cried every single day. Like, there was no way for me to even pretend that I was okay. I was not. I was not okay. And she reminded me how bad it was. And I was like, okay, enough. She was literally like, she couldn't say the first letter of his name because I would start bawling my eyes out. And she's like, girl, like, you have never acted like that. And I was like, you're right. I didn't. And because I got it all out in the beginning, that's why I just didn't prolong my healing process. I got it all out in the first few months. And then I really had to just start focusing on myself. Because like I said, usually it's a process. Like, I'll start with denial and then I'll go into this and I'll go into that. And then finally, I'll just let out all my true emotions. And then the healing can begin, essentially, right? But in this situation, it was different. And I don't feel guilty now that I have like an understanding of the situation from an outside perspective. This is also why it's really important. There's a benefit to speaking about your problems with someone who is not a part of the situation. So that could be a best friend or a stranger or a therapist. So, yeah. Moving on. When everything happened on August 21st, yes, I remember the date, okay? It was a very traumatic day. We ended things in person, and I remember him getting into his Uber, and I got into my car, and I broke down bad. Like, real bad. Seeing the Uber drive off was literally like in the movies. That moment hit me like a brick. After that, for the first few weeks, anytime I'd even think of his name, I'd start crying hysterically. Just uncontrollably. Could not breathe type crying. I'd spend time looking at pictures and videos of us and reading old text messages, and I would just cry some more. Side note, what makes that so funny to me is that I don't do that. The only time I'd look at an old picture of me and a guy that I used to talk to is when I was ready to delete them. But you wouldn't catch me looking through pictures just to reminisce. With other people, I'm very quick to wipe them from my photo memories for real because, like, what do I need pictures of you for? Maybe 1 or 2 pictures for evidence, sure, but the rest gotta go. On August 21st, I wrote a letter to him in my notes on my phone when I finally got home. Pretty much just talking about how ending things was the worst decision I've ever made and that I just don't want to live a life without him in my corner. And I kept apologizing for making this decision. And I kept saying, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. From the first letter to the last one, I can see the growth. And I'm glad that I documented it. And I must say, that helped me so much. I felt like there was so many words left unsaid on my part, and I knew I'd never get that closure or opportunity to tell him. So I wrote him letters, 23 to be exact, and it helped me get closure in a way that I didn't even know existed. It was so therapeutic. In one letter, I'd be cussing him out, and in another letter, I'd be yearning for him back in my life again. It really helped me get all my feelings out there, so I'm really glad I did that. I thought I'd never feel better again, and look at me now, feeling great. I've reached a point of acceptance and appreciation, and by the time I wrote the last letter, I had finally fully let go. My last letter was right before my birthday, and then I never wrote again. But since I've changed so much and I now have such a new perspective on my life, I've decided to write one last letter. And I'm going to read it to you. Dear you. Hey, I hope you're okay. I hope you're better than okay. I hope you're great. I hope your family is doing well and that your career is taking off. I always knew you were bound to be a star. I've changed a lot since we last spoke. And through this change, I found so much more appreciation for what we had. I was so lost and broken when everything happened, but it made me so much stronger. I leaned on you for so much, but I found the confidence in myself so that I don't have to lean at all. I'm a lot more grateful now. I find gratitude in everything. So I want to take this time to say thank you. Thank you for always reassuring me when I had such a lack mentality. Thank you for always affirming me even when I continuously put myself down. Your words of affirmation that you used on me are the words I use on myself now, so thank you. Thank you for all the good times and the deep talks. Thank you for everything from the very beginning on Twitter and to the very end at Lakeshore. Our journey together is such a significant part of my growth, and I'm grateful. Lauren London said Nipsey once told her, "You can't possess people, you can only experience them." I think that was my biggest issue in our situationship. I felt the need to possess you so that I can have the experience I wanted. When in reality, the whole time we were already experiencing each other in such a special and unique way. Experiences don't last forever, whether it be a conversation that ends the experience or death that ends it. At the end of the day, it won't last forever. Although our journey has come to an end, I'm grateful to have experienced you. There is no love lost, and I hope you feel the same way too. But if not, that's totally okay. No pressure. Your opinion is valid. So yeah, love, Ache. Okay, so I feel like this is enough vulnerability for one episode. So to lighten up the mood, I wanted to hear some crazy situationship stories. So I asked on Instagram, and here are some of the responses I got. Someone said, things were going good until one time we linked and she told me she got effed an hour ago. Oh dear. Another person said, dated this chick. She was interested. I was not. Didn't take no for an answer. Well, damn. Someone else said, I'll spill one. Someone went on a high-speed chase with my car while I was them for the first time. Y'all are crazy. Oh my goodness. Okay, one more. Didn't want to cuff her, so she tried to my mans. Okay. Wow. I'm so sorry. Anyway, I'm going to make a part 2 where I talk about my other serious situationship because it was also a big part of my life. And I also want to talk about what we can do to stop the cycle of situationships once and for all. So if you're able to relate to this, I'm sorry, because I know heartbreak. Even if it's with a situationship, it still really hurts. This is the Maybe You Can Relate Songs to Discover segment where I put you on to a new song at the end of every episode. This week, I have a song by an artist named Mello Griffith. As an advocate of mental health, Mello uses his vulnerability, individuality, and creativity to look at his past lived experiences using alternative rap and indie R&B music. Having lived in the racially flawed suburbia and housing communities around him, Mello aims to break down stereotypical social barriers by injecting energy and authenticity into his music, while offering the motivation for others to find their own solace in his music. The song you're about to hear is called DLM. Let's take a listen.
I guess you don't love me after all. Do you even know me after all this time? All these drugs and bloody alcohol turn me into such an animal inside. Do you even love me, please? I don't wanna even hear you speak. 7 days of drama, I'm weak. 7 days, now I'm drama free. Fear pain that you're causing me. Me myself, that's all I need. Need escape from reality. Close no, but girl, you freeze. I guess you don't love me. You don't love me after all this time. I guess you don't love me. I guess you don't love me after all this time. Guess we ain't taught that. I don't sweat like the summer, I just fall back. Used to text love letters, guess it's all cap. Like when my fucking sweater need it all back. Like, did you really need to be this evil?
If you want to hear the rest of this song, I have the links in my bio for you to go and do just that. Make sure to follow Mello at Mello Griffith on Instagram, or you can find him on all streaming platforms under Mello Griffith. Links will be provided down below in the caption. So yeah, I'll catch you on the next one. If you want your song to be on the Maybe You Can Relate Songs to Discover segment, make sure to click the link in my bio, go to the MYCR Songs to Discover form, fill it out, and we'll go from there.